Rebecca Chen stood in front of her bathroom mirror, trying to make herself look presentable. The mirror had a crack running through it, something that happened 3 months ago when her son accidentally knocked it with a toy. She couldn't afford to replace it, so she'd gotten used to seeing her reflection split in 2 pieces. It was Saturday morning, and her shift at Pine Ridge Grocery started in an hour. She ran her fingers through her hair, pulling it back into a simple ponytail. Her uniform shirt had a small stain near the collar that wouldn't come out no matter how many times she washed it. She'd tried to hide it by buttoning her vest all the way up. But you could still see it if you looked close enough. "Mom, I need new crayons for Monday," her 8-year-old daughter Lily called from the bedroom. "Mrs. Peterson said we're starting an art project." Rebecca closed her eyes for a moment. New crayons. That would be at least $5, maybe more if she wanted the good ones that didn't break right away. She had $12 in her wallet until next Friday's paycheck. "We'll see, honey," she called back, which was the phrase she'd started using when she meant, "Probably not, but I don't want to disappoint you right now." Her 6-year-old son Danny was already at the kitchen table, eating cereal without milk because they'd run out yesterday. He didn't complain. He never did anymore, and that broke her heart more than anything else. "I'm heading to Mrs. Rodriguez's house," Rebecca said, kissing both kids on the head. "Be good for her, okay?" Mrs. Rodriguez was their elderly neighbor who watched the kids when Rebecca worked weekends. She refused to take payment, saying the company was enough. Rebecca tried to help her with groceries when she could, though that wasn't often these days. Rebecca walked to the front door and grabbed her car keys, then remembered. Her car wasn't going to start. The mechanic had told her it needed a new battery, possibly a new alternator. That was $400 minimum. She'd been putting it off, hoping the car would keep limping along just a little longer. She looked at her worn sneakers. The sole on the right one was starting to peel away from the bottom. It was a 2-mile walk to the grocery store in August, in shoes that were falling apart. She took a deep breath and stepped outside. The walk took 45 minutes. By the time Rebecca reached Pine Ridge Grocery, her feet hurt and sweat had soaked through her uniform shirt. She ducked into the bathroom and tried to dry herself off with paper towels, reapplied the cheap deodorant she kept in her locker, and checked her reflection one more time. "You can do this," she whispered to herself. Just another day. The morning shift went like it always did. She scanned items, smiled at customers, made small talk about the weather. Her manager, Derek, walked past her register 3 times in the first hour, watching her carefully. He'd been doing that lately. She wasn't sure why. She'd never stolen anything, never been late, always did her job exactly as she was supposed to. Around noon, Derek told her to take her lunch break. Rebecca had learned to time her breaks carefully. The store discounted items that were about to expire, and if she timed it right, she could grab a few things before other employees took them. Today she found a container of deli pasta salad marked down to $3, a slightly bruised apple for 50 cents, and a loaf of bread that would be good for another day or two. She also picked up the crayons for Lily, the cheapest box they had. At the register, she pulled out her debit card. The total came to $11.63. She had $12 in her account. It should work. She swiped her card. The machine beeped. Once, twice. Then the screen showed those words she'd been dreading. "Declined." "Try it again," the cashier said. Not unkindly, Rebecca swiped again. Same result, her hands started shaking. She could feel people in line behind her starting to shift their weight, getting impatient. The cashier called for Derek. Her manager walked over with that expression he'd been wearing lately, the one that said he'd been expecting this. "Problem with your card, Rebecca?" he asked, loud enough that everyone nearby could hear. "It should work," she said quietly. "Maybe the machine—" "Step aside, please," Derek said. "Let me check something." Rebecca moved away from the register, still holding her items. Other customers were definitely watching now. She could feel their eyes on her. Derek picked up the store phone and made a call, speaking in a low voice. When he hung up, his expression had changed to something harder. "Rebecca, I need you to empty your purse onto the counter." "What?" Her voice came out as barely a whisper. "Store policy. When an employee's card declines, we need to verify they haven't been stealing merchandise." "I haven't stolen anything," she said, louder now. "I've worked here for 9 months. I've never—" "Then you won't mind showing us," Derek said. The customers behind her had gone silent. Everyone was watching. Rebecca's face burned with shame, but what choice did she have? With trembling hands, she opened her purse and began taking things out. Her wallet with the $12, a small bag of tissues, her employee ID badge, a toy car that Danny had left in there, lip balm, her house keys. Satisfied? She asked. Derek examined everything, taking his time. One of the customers, a woman in expensive designer sunglasses and perfectly styled hair, had her phone out. Rebecca realized with horror that she was recording. People like this, the woman said to nobody in particular, her voice carrying that specific tone of disgust. They come in here, work the system, probably on welfare, and then try to steal from the store that employs them. I'm not stealing, Rebecca said, but her voice cracked. My card should have worked. There must be a mistake. The mistake is giving people like you jobs in the first place, the woman continued. She was definitely recording now, holding her phone up without shame. Welfare queens who don't appreciate anything. Rebecca looked around for support, for someone to say something, but the other customers looked away. They were embarrassed, but not for the woman with the phone. They were embarrassed for being witnesses to this. I need you to put everything back, Derek said, gesturing to the items she'd tried to buy. You can't make this purchase. I have $12 cash, Rebecca said desperately. I can pay cash. You tried to make a purchase while on company time with a card that doesn't work, Derek said. That's a violation of employee policy. We'll discuss this later. Rebecca stood there frozen. The items she'd been holding suddenly felt like they weighed 100 pounds each. She carefully placed them back on the counter one by one. The pasta salad, the apple, the bread, the crayons for Lily's art project. She picked them back up, looking at them for a long moment. They cost $2.49. She put them back down. Go clock back in, Derek said. Your break is over. Rebecca gathered her things and shoved them back into her purse. Her hands were shaking so hard she dropped her keys twice. The woman with the phone was still recording. Rebecca walked away from the register, her vision blurring with tears she refused to let fall. Not here. Not in front of everyone. She made it to the door marked Employees Only before the first tears fell. By the time she reached the break room, she couldn't hold them back anymore. She sat on the bench outside the store, away from the cameras, away from the customers, and cried into her hands. She'd walked 2 miles in broken shoes. She'd done her job perfectly for 9 months. She'd never stolen a single thing. And now she'd been humiliated in front of dozens of people, recorded on someone's phone, probably about to be posted online for the world to see. She was someone's mother, someone's daughter, someone who had once had a good job and a savings account and a working car, someone who had fallen on hard times through no fault of her own, someone who got up every morning and tried her best, but right now, sitting on that bench outside Pine Ridge Grocery, she didn't feel like any of those things. She just felt small. Rebecca wiped her eyes and tried to pull herself together. She had 4 more hours of her shift. 4 more hours of scanning groceries and smiling at customers who would probably whisper about her. 4 more hours of working under Derek's watchful eye. She could do this. She had to do this. Lily needed crayons. Danny needed milk. They needed food on the table and a roof over their heads. So she would go back inside, she would finish her shift, and she would figure out why her card had declined and how to fix it. The door behind her opened. Rebecca quickly wiped her face again, trying to hide the evidence of her tears. Excuse me, a voice said. She looked up. It was a man, probably in his 50s, with a thick beard and weathered skin. He wore a flannel shirt that had seen better days and work boots covered in sawdust. His hands were rough, calloused from years of hard work. There was something in his eyes, though, something kind. You dropped this, he said, holding out a $20 bill. That's not mine, Rebecca said automatically. Are you sure? The man looked at the bill, then back at her. Could have sworn I saw it fall from your purse. They both knew she hadn't dropped it. Her purse had been emptied in front of everyone. But he was giving her an out, a way to accept help without it being charity. Before she could respond, he pressed the bill into her hand. Take it, he said gently. Whatever's happening in there, it isn't right. People forget sometimes that we're all just trying to get by. Rebecca stared at the money in her hand. $20. Enough for the crayons, the groceries, mill. Gave her Danny's cereal. Enough to hold them over until payday. I can't, she whispered, but she was still holding it. You can, the man said. And you will. Because those kids of yours need their mom to be okay. He turned and walked back toward the store entrance. Rebecca watched him go, this stranger who had shown her more kindness in 2 minutes than she'd received in months. She looked down at the $20 bill. Then she looked at the store where Derek was probably waiting to write her up, where that woman with the phone had probably already posted a video with some cruel caption. For the first time that day, Rebecca felt like maybe, just maybe, everything would be okay. She still had to go back in there. She still had to finish her shift. She still had to figure out her life. But at least now she had crayons for Lily's art project. The man with the beard walked back into Pine Ridge Grocery and got in line at the register. Rebecca had gone back inside through the employee entrance, her eyes still red but her spine a little straighter. She'd tucked the $20 bill into her pocket like a secret. Thomas Whitaker had been watching the whole scene unfold from the back of the line. He'd come into town to pick up supplies for his workshop, something he only did twice a month if he could help it. He preferred the quiet of his mountain property to the noise and bustle of even a small town like Pine Ridge. But today he was glad he'd come in. He'd watched the woman, Rebecca according to her name tag, being treated like a criminal over a declined card. He'd watched that entitled customer with her phone, recording someone else's worst moment for entertainment. He'd watched other customers look away, pretending not to see, and it had made him angry. Tom didn't get angry often. He'd learned years ago that anger was usually wasted energy, but there was something about watching someone's dignity get stripped away in public that hit him differently, maybe because he'd been there himself once. Different circumstances, same shame. When it was his turn at the register, Derek was the one working. The manager had a smug look on his face, like he'd just solved a major crime instead of humiliating an employee who probably made minimum wage. "Find everything okay?" Derek asked automatically. Tom set his items on the belt slowly. Screws, sandpaper, wood stain, a new set of chisels. He waited until Derek had scanned everything. "I have a question," Tom said. "Sure, what's that?" "That woman who was just here. The employee. Why'd you treat her like that?" Derek's smile faltered. "That's a personnel matter. I can't discuss." "You discussed it pretty publicly a few minutes ago," Tom interrupted. "Made her empty her purse in front of everyone. Called her a thief when she was just trying to buy lunch. Store policy," Derek said, his voice taking on a defensive edge. "When an employee's card declines, when anyone's card declines, you verify theft?" Tom asked. "Or just your own employees? Just the ones who can't fight back?" Other customers in line were listening now. Derek's face flushed red. "Look, I don't know what you think you saw. I saw you humiliate someone for being poor," Tom said simply. "That's what I saw." The woman with the designer sunglasses was still in the store, browsing in the produce section but clearly listening. She walked over, phone still in hand. "Excuse me, but that employee was clearly trying to game the system," she said. "People like that are always looking for handouts. I was just documenting what I saw." Tom turned to look at her, really look at her. She was probably in her 50s, well-dressed, well-fed, the kind of person who'd never missed a meal or worried about keeping the lights on. "What's your name?" he asked. "Brenda Walsh," she said, surprised.
"Why? Brenda, let me ask you something."
"When's the last time you had a bad day? I don't see what that has to... When's the last time you made a mistake in public? Said the wrong thing, tripped and fell, had something embarrassing happen to you?" Brenda shifted uncomfortably. "Everyone has bad days." "Right," Tom said. "Everyone does. Now imagine someone filmed your bad day and put it online for strangers to mock. Would you want that?" "That's different," Brenda insisted. "I'm not trying to steal from my employer." "Neither was she," Tom said. "Her card declined. That's not a crime. Being poor isn't a crime, but you treated her like it was. You were just making yourself feel better by putting someone else down," Tom said, his voice still calm but firm. "You saw someone having the worst moment of their day and decided to make it entertainment." The store had gone quiet. Other customers were watching now and some were nodding. Derek tried to regain control of the situation. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to complete your purchase or leave the store." Tom looked at the manager. "I'll complete my purchase. But first tell me this. If you suspected an employee of theft, why didn't you take her to your office? Why make a public spectacle? Unless it wasn't really about theft at all. Unless you just wanted to flex your authority over someone who couldn't fight back." Derek didn't answer. An older woman in line spoke up. "He's right, you know. I've been shopping here for 15 years and I've never seen anyone treated like that. That poor girl was just trying to buy her lunch. Another customer chimed in. My card declined last month. Nobody made me empty my purse. Derek started scanning Tom's items faster, clearly wanting this interaction to end. Tom paid cash, took his bags, and walked out. He found Rebecca sitting on a bench about 20 yards from the store entrance. She was just sitting there, staring at nothing. She looked up when his shadow fell across her. You okay? He asked. I'm fine, she said automatically, the way people do when they're anything but fine. Mind if I sit? Rebecca shrugged. Tom sat down on the other end of the bench, leaving space between them. For a minute, neither of them said anything. Thank you, Rebecca finally said. For the money? I'll pay you back. Don't worry about it. I'm not a thief, she added, like she needed him to know. I know you're not. My card should have worked. I had $12 in there. Maybe the bank made a mistake, or maybe I miscounted, I don't know. But I wasn't trying to steal. I believe you, Tom said. Rebecca looked at him properly for the first time. Why are you being nice to me? You don't know me. Don't need to know you to know what I saw in there was wrong. She laughed, but it was bitter. Welcome to my life lately. Everything's wrong. Tom leaned back against the bench. I was homeless once, he said. About 12 years ago. Lost my job, lost my house, lost everything. Lived in my truck for 8 months. Rebecca looked at him in surprise. Really? Really? There was this diner where I used to park overnight. The owner, guy named Frank, he knew I was living in my truck. Every morning he'd come out with coffee and a breakfast sandwich. Never said anything about it. Never made me feel like charity. Just handed it through the window and went back inside. That was kind of him. It was. But more than that, it was the way he did it. He never made me feel small. Never made me feel less than. That's what stuck with me. Rebecca wiped at her eyes. I used to have a good job. I was an accountant at a logistics company. Made decent money, had benefits, the whole thing. Then the company downsized. I sent out maybe 200 resumes. Got 3 interviews. No offers. That's rough. I took the grocery job because I had to. Because my kids needed to eat and my ex-husband disappeared the moment things got hard. I show up every day. I work every shift. I never complain. And today I got treated like a criminal because I'm broke. Tom nodded slowly. The system's not built for people to fall on hard times. It's built to punish them for it. I don't know how much longer I can do this, Rebecca admitted. The car's broken. The rent's due in 2 weeks. My daughter needs crayons for school and I can't even buy her a $2 box without my card declining. What kind of accounting did you do? Corporate accounting. Accounts payable, accounts receivable, financial reporting, tax prep. I was good at it too. Tom was quiet for a moment, thinking. I have a business up in the mountains. Woodworking, custom furniture, that kind of thing. I'm good at making things. Terrible at the business side. My paperwork's a disaster. Tax season is a nightmare. I probably lose money because I don't track things properly. Rebecca looked at him. Okay, I could use help. Someone who knows what they're doing with numbers and organization. Are you offering me a job? Maybe, Tom said. What would you say if I was? I'd say you don't know me. For all you know, I'm bad at my job. Maybe that's why I got laid off? Were you bad at your job? No, Rebecca said firmly. I was really good at it. Then come take a look at my mess of a filing system and tell me if you can fix it. If you can, I'll pay you for your time. If it works out, maybe we make it regular. Rebecca studied him carefully. Why would you do this? Because Frank gave me coffee and breakfast sandwiches without making me feel like I was less than human, Tom said simply. Because someone gave me a chance when I needed one. Because I can tell you know what you're doing and I actually do need help. And because what happened in there was wrong, and if I can help make your life a little easier, then that's what I'm going to do. I don't take charity, Rebecca said. Good. I'm not offering it. I need a bookkeeper. You need a job that pays better than minimum wage. This is a business arrangement. What if I can't help you? Then I pay you for your time anyway, and we part ways. No harm done. Rebecca looked back at the grocery store. Through the window, she could see Derek talking to another employee, probably spreading gossip about what happened. She thought about going back in there, finishing her shift, facing the whispers and the stares. Then she looked at Tom, the stranger with kind eyes and sawdust on his boots who was offering her something that felt like hope. When would you want me to come look at your books? She asked. Whenever you're available. Tomorrow, next week? Up to you. Tomorrow's Sunday. I have the day off. Tomorrow works, Tom said. He pulled a business card from his wallet. It was simple, just his name and a phone number. Address is on there. Come by around noon if that works. Rebecca took the card, holding it like it might disappear. Tom Whitaker, she read aloud. That's me, Rebecca Chen. Nice to properly meet you, Rebecca. They sat there for another minute in silence. Then Tom stood up, collected his bags from where he'd set them down. See you tomorrow, he said. Yeah, Rebecca said. See you tomorrow. She watched him walk to a beat-up pickup truck that had definitely seen better days. As he drove away, she looked down at the business card in her hand. Maybe, just maybe, things were about to get better. She still had to go finish her shift. She still had to face Derek and the customers and probably a write-up for the declined card incident. But now she had something else too. She had a possibility, a chance. Rebecca stood up, straightened her uniform, and walked back into the grocery store. Her head was higher than it had been an hour ago. Her spine was straighter. She was still broke. Still struggling. Still facing all the same problems she'd had that morning, but she wasn't alone anymore. And sometimes that made all the difference. As she clocked back in, she tucked Tom's business card into her pocket next to the $20 bill. Small tokens of kindness from a stranger who'd seen her humanity when everyone else had looked away. Tomorrow she'd drive up the mountain. Tonight she'd figure out what was wrong with her bank account. Right now she'd finish her shift, one step at a time. That's how you climbed out of a hole. That's how you survived. One small step, then another, and maybe, just maybe, someone would be there to help pull you up the rest of the way. Rebecca borrowed Mrs. Rodriguez's car on Sunday morning. The elderly woman had insisted, waving away Rebecca's protests about gas money. You go see about this job opportunity, she'd said. The car just sits in my garage most days anyway. The drive up the mountain took 40 minutes. Rebecca followed the directions on Tom's business card, winding along roads that got narrower and more remote with each turn. She started wondering if she'd made a mistake. What if this was all some kind of setup? What if Tom wasn't who he seemed? But then she remembered his eyes. The kindness there. The way he'd stood up to Derek and Brenda without raising his voice. The way he'd given her the $20 without making her feel small. She kept driving. The workshop appeared around a bend, and Rebecca had to catch her breath. It wasn't what she'd expected at all. She'd pictured a small shed, maybe a garage with some tools and sawdust. What she found instead was a beautiful timber frame building, with large windows that let in the mountain light. Outside, neatly stacked lumber of different types lined one wall. A small sign hung above the door, Whitaker Custom Woodworks. Tom emerged from the building as she pulled up, wiping his hands on a rag. He was wearing the same type of flannel shirt and work boots covered in fresh sawdust. You found it okay? He called. Your directions were good, Rebecca said, getting out of the car. She'd worn her best clothes, which weren't much. Clean jeans and a simple blouse. Professional but not trying too hard. Come on in, Tom said. Fair warning. The office area is exactly as much of a disaster as I promised. He wasn't lying. The workshop itself was beautiful. Rebecca stepped inside and her mouth fell open a little. The space was large and open, with high ceilings and windows that flooded everything with natural light. Completed pieces of furniture lined one wall, each one clearly crafted with incredible skill. A dining table with intricate inlay work. A rocking chair with curved arms that looked like they'd been shaped by water instead of tools. A headboard carved with a mountain landscape so detailed it looked almost like a photograph. You made all of this? Rebecca asked. Over the years, yeah, Tom said, looking a bit embarrassed. Some are commissions, some are pieces I make because I want to. Come on, I'll show you the office. The office was in a small room off the main workshop, and it was chaos. Papers were everywhere. Receipts were stuffed into shoeboxes. File folders sat in crooked stacks on every surface. There was a computer that looked about 10 years old sitting on a desk buried under more paperwork. I know it's bad, Tom said. I keep meaning to organize it, but every time I sit down to try, I end up just making furniture instead. Rebecca walked around the room slowly, taking it in. She picked up a stack of receipts. Lumber purchases, tool orders, some going back 2 years. She opened a file folder and found what looked like tax documents from 3 years ago, mixed in with current invoices. Do you have an accountant? She asked. I have a guy who does my taxes once a year. He complains every time, keeps threatening to charge me extra for the mess. He should charge you extra, Rebecca said, but she was smiling a little. This was the kind of problem she understood. This was something she could fix. She spent the next hour just looking through everything, getting a sense of the scope of the disaster. Tom left her alone, going back to work in the main shop. She could hear him out there, the sound of tools, the smell of fresh-cut wood drifting in. Finally, she went to find him. He was hand-planing a piece of cherry wood, the thin curls of wood falling around his feet like ribbons. "Okay," Rebecca said. "I can help you." Tom looked up, smiling. Yeah, but it's going to take some time. Your filing system isn't a system, it's a pile. You're probably missing deductions at tax time. I bet you're not tracking expenses properly, which means you don't really know if individual projects are profitable. And I'd be willing to bet you're undercharging for your work. I charge what people can pay, Tom said with a shrug. That's kind, but it's not sustainable. You're an artist. Your work is worth a lot more than you're asking for it. Tom set down his plane. How much time are we talking? To get you organized? To set up a real system? Maybe 20 hours of work initially, then probably a few hours a week ongoing to keep things maintained. What would you charge for that? Rebecca had thought about this on the drive up. She didn't want to lowball herself, but she also didn't want to price herself out of the opportunity. $25 an hour, she said, at least to start. Once I get things organized and we see how it goes, we can talk about a regular arrangement. Tom didn't even hesitate. 30, he said. What? $30 an hour. That's what my tax guy charges just to do my taxes once a year, and you're going to do way more than that. Tom, you don't have to. I know what I'm doing, he said. You're worth it. Take the 30. Rebecca felt tears threatening again, but this time they were different. Okay, she said quietly. 30. When can you start? I work Monday through Friday at the store. I could come up on weekends or maybe some evenings if you don't mind me bringing my kids. Bring the kids, Tom said. There's plenty of space for them to play outside, and it's safe up here. Besides, I could use the company. Really? Really? How about you start today? I'll pay you for 4 hours, see how much you can get done. Rebecca felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope, yes, but more than that. Purpose. She was good at organizing things. She was good at numbers and systems and making order out of chaos. At the grocery store, she was just another cashier. Here she could actually use her skills. Let me call Mrs. Rodriguez, she said. Tell her I'll be a few more hours. She worked the rest of the afternoon and it felt amazing. She created piles first. Current year documents in one area, previous years in another, receipts separated by category. She found invoices from clients who hadn't paid, some dating back over a year. Tom, she called out around 3 o'clock. Did you know you have almost $15,000 in unpaid invoices? He came into the office looking sheepish. Yeah, but most of those people couldn't afford to pay right away. I told them to pay when they could, and they just never did. Some did eventually, others I don't know, I never followed up. Rebecca stared at him. Tom, that's your money. You did the work. You can't just let people not pay you. It felt wrong to pressure them. There's a difference between pressuring people and simply asking for payment for services rendered, Rebecca said. She made a note on a pad of paper. I'm going to start following up on these. Politely but firmly. You deserve to be paid for your work. If you say so, Tom said, but he looked uncomfortable. They kept working. Tom made sandwiches around 5 o'clock, simple things with deli meat and cheese, but Rebecca ate like it was a feast. They sat outside on the porch of the workshop, looking out at the mountains. Can I ask you something? Rebecca said. Sure. Why do you work alone up here? You could probably expand, hire help, make a lot more money. Tom was quiet for a moment. I like the quiet, he said finally. After I got back on my feet, after the homeless thing, I realized I didn't need much. Just my work, my workshop, enough to live on. The money's never been the point. Making things, that's the point. Creating something beautiful out of raw wood, that's what matters. That's a nice way to look at it. You think it's foolish? No, Rebecca said honestly. I think it's admirable. I'm just not there yet. Right now, money is the point. Money means my kids eat. Money means keeping a roof over our heads. Maybe someday I'll get to do things just because I love them, but right now everything is survival. Tom nodded. I get that. That's where I was for a long time too. But you'll get there. You're smart. You're capable. You're a hard worker. Things will turn around. From your mouth to God's ears, Rebecca said. She worked until 6 o'clock when Mrs. Rodriguez called asking if she was okay. Rebecca looked around at what she'd accomplished. The office wasn't perfect yet, but it was better. She'd created a filing system, sorted most of the receipts, made lists of what still needed to be done. Tom paid her in cash, $120 for 4 hours of work, more than she made in a full 8-hour shift at the grocery store. Same time next weekend? He asked. Definitely, Rebecca said. She drove back down the mountain with the radio playing and the windows down, feeling lighter than she had in months. She had 2 jobs now, one that paid the bills barely, and one that paid better and actually used her skills. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. When she got home, Mrs. Rodriguez was reading stories to the kids. Danny had fallen asleep on the couch, thumb in his mouth. Lily ran to hug her. "How was it, Mama?" "It was good, baby. Really good." That night, after the kids were in bed, Rebecca sat at her kitchen table with the cash Tom had paid her. She could buy groceries. Real groceries, not just whatever was on sale. She could get milk. Maybe even a small treat for the kids. She could breathe just a little bit easier. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. She opened it. "Forgot to mention, I found some money in the budget for an advance. Can you use another $200? Consider it payment for the work you'll do next weekend." Rebecca stared at the text. Then she cried. Actually cried, sitting there at her kitchen table with her worn furniture and cracked dishes. But these tears were different. She texted back, "I can use it." "Thank you." His response came a minute later. "Venmo, okay? Don't have cash on me." "Venmo's great." The money came through 5 minutes later. $200. Combined with what she already had, she had enough to fix her car. Enough to buy groceries and pay part of the rent and maybe, just maybe, get Lily that art project she wanted. Rebecca looked around her tiny apartment. It was still too small. The furniture was still old. The crack in the mirror hadn't magically fixed itself. But somehow everything looked a little different, because someone had believed in her. Someone had seen her value when everyone else saw a woman with a declined card and worn shoes. Someone had given her a chance. She made a promise to herself right then. When she got back on her feet, really back on her feet, she'd pay it forward. She'd look for people who needed help, who needed to be seen, who needed a chance. Just like Tom had done for her. But first, she had to climb out of this hole. One weekend job at a time, one invoice collected at a time. One step at a time, she was going to make it. For the first time in a long time, Rebecca actually believed that things were going to get better. 3 weeks passed. Rebecca spent every weekend at Tom's workshop, slowly bringing order to years of chaos. She'd also started coming up one evening a week, bringing Lily and Danny with her. The kids loved it. They'd play in the clearing outside while she worked, and Tom would sometimes carve small animals for them out of scrap wood. The system she'd created was working. Tom's business was running more smoothly. She'd collected almost $8,000 in old unpaid invoices, politely but firmly reminding clients of their obligations. Tom had been amazed, almost uncomfortable with having that much money come in at once. But Rebecca's situation wasn't totally fixed yet. She still worked at the grocery store, still dealt with Derek's suspicious looks and whispered conversations that stopped when she entered the break room. She kept her head down and did her job, until Tuesday morning when everything changed. She was in the middle of her shift when Lily called her cell phone. Rebecca wasn't supposed to answer during work hours, but Lily never called unless it was important. "Mom?" Her daughter's voice was shaking. "Honey, what's wrong?" "Some kids at school, they were showing a video." "It was you, Mom, at the grocery store." People were laughing. Rebecca's blood went cold. "I'll call you back, sweetie. I promise." She hung up and immediately searched her own name on social media, and there it was. The video Brenda Walsh had taken that day. 3 weeks old now, but someone had found it and shared it locally. "Pine Ridge Karen catches welfare queen stealing." The caption read. It had been shared 47 times in the local community group. The comments were brutal. "People like this are why our taxes are so high. Probably has 6 kids from different fathers. Get a real job instead of stealing from your employer. This is what's wrong with America." Rebecca felt sick. She ran to the bathroom and locked herself in a stall, her hands shaking as she scrolled through comment after comment, each one worse than the last. Some people defended her, but they were drowned out by the cruelty. Her children had seen this. Lily's friends had seen this. The whole town had seen her worst moment twisted into something even uglier than it had been. She called Tom. He answered on the second ring. "Rebecca, you okay?" "The video," she said, her voice breaking. "The one from that day. It's everywhere. My daughter saw it at school. People are commenting, saying horrible things, and I don't know what to do." "Where are you?" "At work. In the bathroom. I can't go back out there. Everyone's probably seen it." "Listen to me," Tom said, his voice steady and calm. "Take the rest of the day off. Come up to the workshop. Bring the kids if you need to. We'll figure this out. I can't just leave work." "Yes, you can. You're not okay, and that's a good enough reason. Come here." Rebecca ended up calling in sick for the first time in 9 months. She picked up the kids early from school, ignoring the looks from other parents in the pickup line. They drove up the mountain in silence. Tom was waiting on the porch when they arrived. He'd already set up a small table outside with art supplies for the kids, getting them settled before sitting down with Rebecca. "Show me," he said. She pulled up the video on her phone. They watched it together. Rebecca saw herself through Brenda's camera, saw how small she looked, how humiliated, heard Brenda's voice saying those awful things, read the comments underneath. Tom's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. "Okay," he said. "Here's what we're not going to do. We're not going to hide. We're not going to let these people win. What else can I do? I can't take the video down. I can't make people stop sharing it. No, but you can tell your side of the story. You can face this head on. How? There's a community meeting tomorrow night at the town hall. Monthly thing, anyone can attend, anyone can speak, we go. We address this directly." Rebecca looked at him like he'd lost his mind. "You want me to stand up in front of the whole town and talk about this? I want you to stand up and tell the truth. That you're not a thief, that you're a single mother working 2 jobs trying to take care of your kids. That having one bad moment doesn't define who you are as a person." "They won't listen." "Some won't," Tom admitted. "But some will. And the ones who won't, at least you'll have looked them in the eye and shown them you're not ashamed. Because you shouldn't be ashamed, Rebecca. You did nothing wrong." "I don't know if I can do that." "You can," Tom said firmly. "And I'll be right there with you." The next evening, Rebecca walked into Pine Ridge Town Hall with Tom beside her, and her hands shaking. The room was packed. Apparently, word had gotten around that something interesting might happen. Brenda Walsh was there, sitting near the front, looking smug. Derek from the grocery store was there too, but so were Mrs. Rodriguez and other people from her neighborhood. Some of Tom's clients, people she didn't recognize. The mayor ran through the usual business. Budget discussions. Road repair updates. Zoning questions. Rebecca barely heard any of it. Her heart was pounding so hard she thought everyone could probably hear it. Finally, the mayor asked if anyone had any new business to discuss. Tom stood up. "Yes, sir. My name is Tom Whitaker, and I'd like to address something that's been circulating online recently." The room went quiet. Everyone knew what he was talking about. "Go ahead, Tom," the mayor said. Tom gestured for Rebecca to stand. She did, her legs feeling weak. They walked to the front of the room together. "This is Rebecca Chen," Tom said to the room. "Some of you know her. Some of you have seen a video of her that's been shared online. I was there that day. I saw what happened. And I think it's time the truth got told." He stepped back, giving Rebecca the floor. She looked out at all those faces. Some curious, some judgmental, some kind. She took a deep breath. "3 weeks ago, I tried to buy lunch at the grocery store where I work," she began. Her voice shook, but she kept going. "My card declined. I didn't know why. I still don't, actually. There was supposed to be money in my account." She told them everything. About losing her accounting job. About her ex-husband leaving. About taking the grocery job because she had 2 kids to feed and rent to pay. About being treated like a criminal in front of customers because she couldn't afford an $11 purchase. "I'm not on welfare," she said. "I work 2 jobs. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. But sometimes, even when you do everything right, things still go wrong. Sometimes your card declines. Sometimes your car breaks down. Sometimes you can't afford crayons for your kid's school project." Her voice got stronger as she talked. The shame was still there, but underneath it was something else. Anger, maybe. Or just exhaustion from carrying this weight alone for so long. "Someone filmed my worst moment and put it online with a caption calling me a thief and a welfare queen. My 8-year-old daughter saw that video at school. Kids were laughing at it, at her mother. She looked directly at Brenda Walsh. You don't know me. You don't know my story. You saw 30 seconds of my life and decided I was everything wrong with this country. But you know what? I get up every morning. I get my kids ready for school. I work all day. I come home and make dinner and help with homework and try to make them feel safe and loved even though we're struggling. That's not what's wrong with America. That's what's right with it. People were listening. Really listening. I'm not asking for sympathy, Rebecca continued. I'm not asking for handouts. I'm just asking to be treated like a human being. To have one bad moment without it defining my entire existence. To be poor without being treated like I'm less than. She paused, gathering her courage for the last part. I was an accountant for 8 years. I was good at my job. I paid my taxes. I saved money. I did everything the right way. Then my company downsized, and suddenly all that didn't matter. I sent out hundreds of resumes. I went on interviews. I took the grocery job because I needed to feed my children, not because I was lazy or trying to game the system. Tom stepped forward then. Since Rebecca started doing my bookkeeping, my business has turned around. She's collected thousands in unpaid invoices. She's organized years of chaos. She's worth way more than minimum wage, and she deserves to be treated with respect. An older woman in the back stood up. Rebecca recognized her from the grocery store, one of her regular customers. I've known Rebecca for months, the woman said. She's always kind, always professional, always has a smile even when you can tell she's having a hard day. What happened to her was wrong, and sharing that video was cruel. Another person stood. Then another, people Rebecca barely knew, talking about kindness and dignity and how easy it is to judge without knowing someone's full story. Then Brenda Walsh stood up. The room went silent. I took that video, Brenda said. Her voice was defensive. I thought I was documenting theft. I thought I was protecting the store. You were making entertainment out of someone else's pain, Tom said flatly. Brenda's face flushed. I didn't think about it like that. That's the problem, Tom said. Nobody thinks about it. We see someone struggling and we film it, share it, mock it. We forget they're real people with real lives and real problems. I grew up poor, Brenda said suddenly, and everyone turned to look at her. Really poor. Food stamps poor. Wore the same clothes to school every week poor. I spent my whole life trying to get away from that, trying to be better than that. And when I saw that situation, I think maybe I saw myself. The person I used to be. The person I never wanted to be again. She looked at Rebecca. I'm sorry, I was wrong. You didn't deserve that. It wasn't a perfect apology. It didn't undo the damage, but it was something. The mayor spoke up. I think this is a good reminder for all of us. It's easy to judge. It's harder to have compassion. Let's try to do better. The meeting moved on to other topics, but Rebecca barely heard them. She sat down, shaking, Tom's hand steady on her shoulder. After the meeting ended, people approached her. Some apologized for sharing the video. Some offered their own stories of hard times. Some asked if she was available for bookkeeping work. Derek from the grocery store came up too. He looked uncomfortable. Corporate saw the video, he said quietly. They weren't happy with how I handled the situation. I've been let go. Rebecca didn't feel triumph or satisfaction. She just felt tired. I'm sorry, she said, and meant it. You're a good employee, Derek admitted. I shouldn't have treated you that way. I was wrong. By the time they left town hall, it was late. Tom walked Rebecca to her car while the kids dozed in the back seat. You did good in there, he said. I felt like I was going to throw up the entire time. Bravery isn't not being scared. It's being scared and doing it anyway. Rebecca laughed a little. Is that a fortune cookie? Probably. But it's still true. She looked at him in the streetlight. This man who'd appeared in her life at exactly the right moment, who'd given her a chance when she needed one most, who'd stood beside her through all of this. Thank you, she said. For everything. You're going to be okay, Tom said. Better than okay. You're going to thrive. I hope you're right. I'm always right, Tom said, grinning. As Rebecca drove home that night, she felt something shift inside her. The shame was still there, but it was smaller now. Quieter. She'd faced the worst of it head-on, and she'd survived. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Saw you at the meeting tonight. I own the hardware store on Main. Could use someone to help with my books. Interested? Then another text from a different number. I run the coffee shop downtown. Your name came up tonight. Call me if you want to discuss bookkeeping services. Then another. And another. By the time she got home, she had 7 new potential clients. Rebecca sat in her car for a long moment, just reading the messages. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. A real genuine sound that surprised her. Things were going to be okay. Actually okay this time. She was going to be okay. 6 months later, Rebecca pulled into the driveway of her new apartment and took a moment to just sit there. It wasn't a house, not yet, but it was bigger than the old place. 2 bedrooms instead of 1. Working appliances. No cracks in the mirrors. The kids had their own room, and she had a small office space where she could work. Her car, which had been fixed 3 months ago, ran smoothly now. She had groceries in the trunk. Real groceries, not just whatever was on sale. There was money in her bank account. Not a fortune, but enough. Enough to breathe. Enough to live without constant panic. She'd quit the grocery store 2 months after the town hall meeting. Once her bookkeeping business had grown stable enough to support them. She now had 12 regular clients, including Tom's workshop. She worked from home, set her own hours, and charged what she was worth. But more than the money, more than the apartment, more than any of it, was the feeling that she'd earned this, that she'd climbed out of that hole through hard work and help from people who'd believed in her. "Mom, can we go see Tom this weekend?" Danny asked as she was unloading groceries. "I'm going up to do his quarterly reports on Saturday. You guys can come." "Yes." Lily pumped her fist. "Maybe he'll show me how to carve again." The kids loved Tom. He'd become something like family over these months. Not a father figure exactly, but something. A constant presence, a safe person, someone who showed up. Saturday morning, they drove up the mountain together. The leaves were turning, painting everything in shades of gold and red. Rebecca had learned the roads by heart now, could drive them without thinking. Tom was outside when they arrived, working on a new piece, a rocking chair, the arms carved to look like tree branches. "That's beautiful," Rebecca said, getting out of the car. "Thanks. It's for the Petersons' new baby. They're paying you appropriately this time, right?" Tom grinned. "Yes, boss. I'm charging what you told me to charge." "Good." The kids ran off to play in the clearing, and Rebecca headed to the small office that was now properly organized. Filing cabinets with labeled folders. A computer that actually worked. Everything had a place, and everything in its place. She was reviewing Tom's accounts when he brought in coffee and homemade cookies. "You know you don't have to feed me every time I'm here," she said. "I like feeding people." "Sue me." Rebecca smiled. "Your profit margins are up 30% from last quarter. Is that good?" "That's very good. You're finally charging what your work is worth, you're tracking expenses properly, and you're not letting people skip out on payment." "All thanks to you." "We make a good team," Rebecca said. They worked together until lunch when Tom grilled burgers for everyone. The kids ate like they were starving, which they always did when Tom cooked. Something about mountain air and good food. "I got an email this morning," Rebecca said casually. "From a business owner in the next town over. She'd heard about what I do and wants to hire me for her company." "That's great." "It is. But it made me think. I'm getting more clients than I can handle on my own. I might need to hire someone. Maybe an assistant at first, then eventually grow it into a real accounting firm." Tom leaned back in his chair, grinning. "Look at you becoming a business owner. It's terrifying. It's amazing. You're amazing." Rebecca felt herself blush a little. She and Tom had settled into an easy friendship over these months. Sometimes she wondered if it could be more, but she wasn't ready for that yet. Maybe someday. For now, this was enough. "I've been thinking about something else too," she said. "About what happened at the town hall meeting. How many people came up afterward with their own stories about falling on hard times. It struck a nerve." It did, and I keep thinking about that. About how many people are struggling and how easy it is to feel alone in it. How easy it is to be invisible. What are you thinking? I don't know exactly. Maybe some kind of community support network. A way to connect people who need help with people who can provide it. Not charity exactly. More like what you did for me. Opportunities, chances. Tom nodded slowly. I like it. What would it look like? Still figuring that out. But I want to do something. I want to help people the way you helped me. They talked about it for another hour, throwing out ideas. Maybe a website. Maybe monthly meetings. Maybe a combination of both. It was rough and unformed, but it felt right. That afternoon, while the kids played and Tom worked on his rocking chair, Rebecca took a walk around the property. She found herself at the edge of the clearing, looking out over the valley below. She thought about that day in the grocery store. How small she'd felt. How humiliated. How certain she was that things would never get better. And she thought about Tom, stepping out of line to defend her. Offering her a chance. Believing in her when she'd stopped believing in herself. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Hi, Rebecca. My name is Katie. I saw a post in the community group about your bookkeeping services. But that's not really why I'm texting. I'm in a situation right now that's pretty similar to what you went through. Lost my job, struggling to find work, feeling like I'm drowning. I don't know if you remember me, but I was at the town hall meeting that night. The way you spoke, the way you didn't give up, I don't know. It made me think maybe I could get through this too. Anyway, I saw you sometimes help people who are trying to get back on their feet. If you have time for coffee sometime, I'd really appreciate any advice you could share." Rebecca read the text twice. Then she looked back at the workshop, where Tom was teaching Lily how to sand wood properly. She thought about Mrs. Rodriguez, who'd watched her kids for free when she had nothing. She thought about all the people at the town hall who'd shared their own stories. She texted back, "Hi, Katie, I'd love to meet for coffee. How about Tuesday at 10 a.m. at the coffee shop on Main? And I might know someone who's looking for admin help. No promises, but I can make an introduction." The response came quickly. "Really? Thank you so much. I'll be there." Rebecca smiled and walked back to the workshop. Tom looked up as she approached. "Everything okay?" "Everything's really good," she said. "I just got my first client for that support network we were talking about." "Already?" "Already. Someone who needs help getting back on her feet. I think I know how to help her." Tom's face broke into a wide smile. "See? You're paying it forward already. Someone wise once told me that's how it works. Someone helps you, then you help someone else. Sounds like a smart guy." He has his moments. That evening, driving back down the mountain with sleeping kids in the back seat, Rebecca thought about how much her life had changed. 6 months ago, she'd been falling apart. Now she was building something new. Not just for herself, but for her children. And maybe if she did it right, for other people too. She thought about Brenda Walsh, who'd stopped by her office last week, who'd written a check to the local food bank and asked if Rebecca would help her understand how to budget for regular charitable giving, who was trying in her own way to be better. She thought about Derek, who'd found work at a different store and who'd actually apologized again when they'd run into each other at the hardware. So she thought about all the people in Pine Ridge who'd reached out after that town hall meeting, who'd hired her, who'd shared her name, who'd become clients and then friends. But mostly she thought about Tom, about sawdust and coffee and quiet mountain mornings, about someone who'd seen her humanity when she'd felt most invisible, about kindness given freely, without expectation of return. When she got home, she tucked the kids into their new beds in their new room. Lily had her art supplies neatly organized on a shelf, including a new set of crayons. Danny had a bookshelf full of books they'd gotten from the library. Rebecca stood in the doorway watching them sleep, feeling that tightness in her chest that meant she was about to cry. But this time for good reasons. They were going to be okay. More than okay. They were going to thrive. She went to her own room, to her small desk by the window, and opened her laptop. She created a new document and started typing. Pine Ridge Community Connection, a network dedicated to helping people help each other, because everyone deserves a second chance, because kindness matters, because we're all just trying to get by. She wrote for an hour, creating a rough plan. A website where people could post about needs and offers. Monthly meetups at the community center. A system for matching people who had skills with people who needed them. Nothing fancy, nothing complicated. Just people helping people. When she finished, she sent a copy to Tom. His response came 5 minutes later. "This is perfect. I'm in. Whatever you need." Rebecca closed her laptop and looked out the window at the night sky. Stars were visible here, away from the city lights. Thousands of them, bright and constant. She thought about all the people out there who were struggling right now, who felt invisible, who couldn't afford crayons for their kids, who were one declined card away from complete humiliation. She couldn't help everyone. But she could help someone. And if she helped someone, maybe they'd help someone else. And maybe slowly things would get a little bit better. That was how you change things. Not with grand gestures or sweeping reforms, but with small acts of kindness. With seeing people. With offering chances. With remembering what it felt like to be at the bottom and reaching down to help others climb up. Rebecca got ready for bed. But before she turned off the light, she made one more text. "Thank you," she wrote to Tom, "for everything. For seeing me when I was invisible. For giving me a chance. For being kind when the world wasn't. I know I've said it before, but I need you to know how much it meant. How much you changed my life." His response came quickly. "You did the work. I just reminded you that you could. That's all any of us can do for each other. Remember when someone's falling and offer a hand up. You're doing that now for others. That's all I ever hoped would happen." Rebecca smiled and set her phone down. She turned off the light and lay in her bed in her new apartment with her sleeping children down the hall and money in the bank and a future that looked bright. The last thought she had before falling asleep was simple but profound. Everything was going to be okay, and it was. Not because some miracle had happened. Not because someone had swooped in and solved all her problems. But because one person had seen her humanity at her lowest moment and reminded her that she was worth more than her worst day. Because Tom Whitaker had stood up when everyone else looked away. Because kindness, even small kindness, can change everything. The next morning, Rebecca woke up early. She made breakfast for the kids. Real breakfast with eggs and fresh fruit. She helped them get ready for school. She packed their lunches with enough food and even a small treat. And when Lily asked if they could get that art set she'd been wanting, Rebecca said yes, not we'll see, not maybe. Just yes, because now, finally she could, and that made all the difference.